This week's news recap. SCRAP urges Tinubu to investigate subsidy fraud. Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project called upon President Bola Tinubu to initiate an investigation into the alleged misappropriation of $2.1 billion and 3.1 trillion naira in subsidy payments between 2016 and 2019. In a statement issued by its Deputy Director, Kolawole Oluwadare, they urged Tinubu to establish a presidential panel of inquiry to swiftly examine the disturbing allegations of missing public funds. These funds, designated for fuel subsidy payments, were reported as unaccounted for by the Auditor General of the Federation. SCRAP insisted that the president should publicly identify and hold accountable any individuals suspected of being involved in the pervasive and systemic corruption. The organization further demanded that those responsible face effective prosecution and any proceeds obtained through criminal means should be fully recovered. Additionally, SCRAP urged President Tinubu to conduct a comprehensive, transparent, and independent investigation into all fuel subsidies disbursed by previous administrations since the restoration of democracy in 1999. The organization suggested that any funds recovered from these investigations should be used to alleviate the adverse effects of subsidy removal on the most vulnerable Nigerians. In a letter dated June 3, 2023, Oluwadare emphasized the importance of achieving justice and accountability for these grave allegations, stating that economic growth and sustainability cannot be attained without addressing human rights crimes. SCRAP called on Tinubu to promptly uphold the principles of due process in any decision regarding fuel subsidy removal, ensuring that those suspected of committing crimes against Nigerians are brought to justice and any missing public funds are fully recovered. The organization cautioned that arbitrarily removing fuel subsidy without addressing the unresolved accountability issues surrounding the alleged mismanagement of oil revenues and subsidy payments would only exacerbate the plight of the poor while enabling high-profile officials and non-state actors to escape punishment for their actions. SCRAP warned that if the president fails to respond to their request for an investigation within 3 days, legal action will be pursued. Kano governor dismisses Hajj Center officials and orders hotel demolition. Kano State Governor Abu Yusuf made the decision to relieve the officers responsible for Hajj affairs in the 44 local government areas of their duties. He replaced them with interim officers who will oversee the ongoing operations of intending pilgrims for the 2023 Hajj in the state. The governor's directive was conveyed in a statement issued by his chief press secretary, Sanusi Dawokin Tofa, on Sunday. The newly appointed interim local Hajj officers have been instructed to assume all responsibilities previously held by the former officers. They are expected to report to the new Director General of the board for further directives at the board's headquarters. Recently, the governor also replaced the executive secretary of the Kano State Pilgrims Welfare Board, Ambassador Mohammed Dambata, with Alhaji Laminu Rabiu. The decision to dismiss the 44 Hajj Center officers was made just hours before the commencement of the airlift of the state's pilgrims. In line with the governor's commitment to removing illegal structures and preserving Kano's master plan, state authorities conducted the demolition of structures at Dola Hotel and the Hajj camp on Sunday morning. The demolition of Dola Hotel followed the demolition of a 3-story building containing 90 shops on Racecourse Road in the Nasarawa Gra area of Kano on Saturday. These actions marked the beginning of the government's efforts to demolish structures deemed illegal and believed to have been constructed on government land. It should be Kwara State reduces workdays to 3 for government workers. The Kwara State government announced a reduction in workdays for government workers from 5 days to 3 days per week. The decision was made in response to the significant increase in transport fares, which has put a burden on workers in the state. In a statement issued in Ilorin by Matala Otoyibi, the chief press secretary to Governor Abdul Rahman Abdul Razak, the state head of service, Mrs. Susan Aluwole, directed all heads of ministries, departments, and agencies to develop a schedule indicating the alternating work days for each employee under their supervision. The temporary measure has been implemented to alleviate the hardship faced by public workers in the state due to the removal of fuel subsidies by the federal government. The government aims to ease the financial strain caused by the subsidy removal. Mrs. Aluwole emphasized that while the government is offering this relief, workers should not take advantage of the situation. She warned that her office would intensify monitoring of the ministries, departments, and agencies to ensure strict compliance with the new schedule. The reduction in workdays is a proactive step taken by the Kwara state government to support its workers during this challenging time of increased transport costs. IPOB supports Enugu governor's efforts to end Monday's sit-at-home. The indigenous people of Biafra expressed its support for the Enugu state governor in his commitment to end the Monday sit-at-home protest in the state. IPOB stated that they are backing the governor's efforts because the group had already suspended the sit-at-home order. However, while supporting the governor, IPOB cautioned against the use of force on the people, emphasizing that the police are aware of the criminals who enforce the non-existent sit-at-home. In a statement issued by IPOB spokesman Emma Powerful, the group reminded Governor MBA that they had already suspended the exercise before it was hijacked by criminal elements. The statement from IPOB read, after our leadership initiated the Monday sit-at-home order to demand the release of our leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the IPOB leadership had long directed the stoppage of the exercise to prevent criminals from taking advantage and causing harm to our people. While acknowledging that some individuals continue to observe the Monday sit-at-home voluntarily, IPOB stressed that those enforcing the order and committing crimes were criminals and infiltrators. The group urged all IPOB members and Biafrans to resume their normal activities on Mondays as the sit-at-home order had been suspended. IPOB also noted that the sit-at-home exercise was gradually winding down across the southeast region. The group urged the governor to avoid using force to suppress the people as this could lead to anarchy. They claimed that the security agencies were aware of the enforcers of the sit-at-home and their sponsors, alleging that some people in Europe were behind the criminal activities in the southeast with the support of the federal government to discredit IPOB. IPOB called on the governor to exercise caution and not allow any loss of life due to the sit-at-home order as the group disassociated itself from it. They warned against using the compromised security forces to stop the sit-at-home, citing previous failures in Ibonyi, Imo, and Anambra states. IPOB encouraged the governor to engage with the people and allow the Monday sit-at-home to naturally fade away. In summary, IPOB expressed support. Don't incite violence in Nigeria, APP chieftain cautions Rufai. Samuel Kwanka, a prominent member of the All Progressives Congress in Plateau State, issued a cautionary message to Nasser Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State, urging him not to incite violence in Nigeria with his statements. Kwamka, a former national director of the Christian Association of Nigeria, expressed his concern during a press conference held in Jos. Kwamka's response was prompted by alleged statements attributed to El-Rufai, where he supposedly declared that Islamic dominance had been successfully replicated in Kaduna and would continue in Nigeria. Additionally, El-Rufai was reported to have claimed that the victory of Bola Tinubu had silenced the Christian Association of Nigeria and he intended to maintain an Islamic-dominated government for 20 years or more. Expressing disappointment at El-Rufai's remarks, Kwamka highlighted that the former governor's classification of citizens as them versus us implicated him in the wanton killings, demolition of Christian houses, and places of worship in Kaduna. Kwamka also expressed surprise at El-Rufai's transformation from a potential high-ranking government official to a confirmed religious bigot with a hidden agenda to exploit religion for destructive purposes. Kwamka advised El-Rufai not to mislead Nigerians into believing that Bola Tinubu's electoral victory was solely for the Islamization of Nigeria. He questioned El-Rufai's divisive rhetoric and stated that Christians have supported Tinubu based on their belief in his character and antecedents, despite claims by Islamic clerics that his Muslim ticket was part of an Islamization agenda. Kwamka criticized El-Rufai's speech, which he claimed demonstrated extremism and a lack of understanding of justice, equity, and fairness. He argued that discrimination, ethnic profiling, and attempts to dominate a particular religion or tribe were unjust and would lead to anarchy and crisis. Furthermore, Kwamka accused El-Rufai of being involved in the unending religious crises and insecurity in Nigeria. He emphasized that Christianity does not promote deception but advocates for truth, unconditional love, and the involvement of all people regardless of their religion or background. Kwamka called on El-Rufai to use platforms like the Nigeria Interreligious Council to foster unity rather than perpetuate division. In conclusion, Kwamka urged El-Rufai to reconsider his divisive rhetoric and focus on the development and well-being of the people. INEC announces final list of candidates for governorship elections in Kogi, Ayemo, and Bayelsa states. The Independent National Electoral Commission has released the official and final list of candidates for the upcoming governorship elections scheduled for November 11th in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo states. The list was approved during a meeting held by the Commission on Tuesday in Abuja. In a statement signed by Mr. Festus Okoye, the National Commissioner and Chairman of the Information and Voter Education Committee of INEC, it was revealed that all 18 political parties nominated candidates in Kogi, 17 in Bayelsa, and 16 in Imo states. Among the candidates, 2 political parties have fielded female candidates in Bayelsa state, 1 in Kogi state, and none in Imo state. Okoye emphasized that the final list has been uploaded to INEC's website and social media platforms. Additionally, the list will be published in the Commission's state and local government offices in the affected states on Thursday, June 8, 2023, in accordance with the statutory deadline of June 9, 2023. Addressing an incident that occurred last week in Kogi State, Okoye expressed concern over the destruction of vehicles and properties as a result of clashes between the convoys of 2 political actors. He urged political parties and candidates to conduct their activities in a civil and decorous manner, emphasizing that peaceful electioneering is crucial for ensuring a peaceful election. Nigeria Air launch declared a fraud by House of Representatives. The House of Representatives has raised serious concerns about the alleged launch of Nigeria Air during the final days of former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, declaring it a fraudulent act. Enolim Enaji, the chairman of the House Committee on Aviation, expressed his belief that the Nigeria Air launch was a sham after major stakeholders involved in the deal between the federal government and Ethiopian Airlines denied any knowledge of such a launch. The Ministry of Aviation attempted to clarify the situation by stating that Nigeria Air was merely unveiled and not officially launched. However, the committee dismissed this explanation as an attempt to divert their attention from the matter at hand. During the committee's proceedings, members were taken aback when the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency revealed that the aircraft, adorned with Nigerian colors, was actually on a chartered flight heading to Nigeria. Additional stakeholders confirmed this disclosure and emphasized that the chartered flight could be painted in any color and carry any kind of inscriptions. The revelation has further deepened suspicions surrounding the legitimacy of the Nigeria Air launch, casting doubts on the transparency and authenticity of the entire process. The House of Representatives is determined to investigate this matter thoroughly and ensure accountability for any fraudulent activities that may have taken place. Senate approves Tinubu's request for appointment of 20 special advisors. The Nigerian Senate granted President Bola Tinubu's request to appoint 20 special advisors. The Senate President, Ahmad Lawan, read the President's request on the floor of the upper legislative chamber and it was subsequently approved. Lawan emphasized the urgency of the matter, stating that the President needs his team to work with. Since no specific names were provided for the special advisors, the approval was granted in principle to proceed with the appointments. This development follows Tinubu's recent announcement of key appointments in his administration. He named Femi Bajabiamila, the outgoing Speaker of the House of Representatives, as his Chief of Staff, and George Akim, a former Minister of Special Duties, as his Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Additionally, Senator Ibrahim Hedijia, a former Deputy Governor of Jigawa State, was appointed as the Deputy Chief of Staff. The statement, titled President Tinubu Appoints Bajabiamila calls Senator Ibrahim Hedijia, DCOS, George Akim, SGF, was issued by Abiodun Oladunjoyi, the Director of Information at the State House. It also mentioned that Tinubu had named George Akim as the Secretary to the Government of the Federation during a meeting with the Progressives Governors Forum. With the Senate's approval and the recent appointments, President Tinubu is now in the process of assembling his team to support his administration's goals and objectives. 109 Libya returnees, including 11 children, arrive in Lagos. The National Emergency Management Agency confirmed the safe arrival of 109 stranded Nigerians who were repatriated from Libya. The returnees landed at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Ikeja, Lagos State, with the assistance of the International Organization for Migration. According to Ibrahim Farin Loyi, the coordinator of the Lagos Territorial Office of NEMA, the returnees arrived aboard Al Birake, a Boeing 737-800 with registration number 5 ADMG. They disembarked at the cargo wing of the airport. Among the returnees were 46 adult females, 2 female children, and 1 female infant. Additionally, there were 52 male adults, 4 male children, and 4 male infants. 2 medical cases were also identified among the group. During the reception, Farin Loyi, representing the Director General of NEMA, urged the returnees to serve as ambassadors of hope and discourage other youths from embarking on perilous journeys. He emphasized that opportunities for growth and prosperity exist within Nigeria and encouraged them to contribute to the nation's development. Several agencies collaborated in welcoming the returnees, including the National Commission for Refugees, Migration and Internally Displaced Persons, Federal Ministry of Health, Port Health, Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, and the Nigeria Police. Farin Loyi further conveyed the message from Alhaji Mustafa Ahmed, the Director General of NEMA, who assured the returnees of the government's commitment to addressing the challenges facing the nation. The new administration aims to harness the energy and technological skills of the youth, ensuring their active participation in policy implementation. The leadership recognizes the potential of the youth as a driving force for positive development and progress in the country. The safe return of we chartered the plane from Ethiopia, Nigeria Air MD clarifies. Dolio Alumede, the acting managing director of Nigeria Air, addressed the Senate Committee on Aviation to shed light on the recent sighting of an aircraft bearing the Nigeria Air logo in Abuja. Alumede revealed that the airplane in question was actually chartered from Ethiopian Airlines for the purpose of launching the country's official airline. During the committee meeting, Alumede emphasized that his mandate as the Nigeria Air MD was to secure an operating license for the airline, which is still in its early stages. He clarified that while the Nigeria Air logo was unveiled in 2018, various developments had occurred since then unrelated to his involvement. Olumide explained, my mandate is to secure an air operating certificate for the airline, not necessarily to operate the airline, but to secure a license to fly, and that is entirely my responsibility. Senator Olujimi, the chairman of the Committee on Aviation, expressed her concerns about the Nigeria Air arrangement, suggesting that it was surrounded by suspicion. In response, Alumide clarified that the aircraft causing the conversation did not require a license as it was chartered for the specific purpose of unveiling the Nigeria Air logo. He further elaborated the aircraft that came in and left was a legitimate charter flight. Any one of us here, if we have a destination wedding in Senegal, we can charter an aircraft. You don't need to have a license to do that. You just charter an aircraft you paid for, it will be brought here, take your passengers, and off you go. Olumide emphasized that the chartered aircraft was brought to Nigeria to showcase its appearance to institutional investors and shareholders. He clarified that the aircraft was Ethiopian registered, not Nigerian registered, as it was not intended for operational purposes. To obtain the necessary license from the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Nigeria Air must have 3 Nigerian registered aircraft. He also highlighted the process involved in obtaining an operating license, mentioning that they had progressed through the initial stages. However, changing key personnel, known as post holders, required them to restart certain phases of the process, which was Senate rejects controversial National Water Resources Bill. On Tuesday, the Senate dismissed the contentious National Water Resources Bill 2023 after it was included on the order paper for consideration and passage. The bill, presented by former President Muhammadu Buhari in 2017, aimed to transfer control of water resources from the states to the federal government. The bill proposed the establishment of several bodies, including the National Council on Water Resources, Nigeria Water Resources Regulatory Commission, River Basin Development Authorities, Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, and the National Water Resources Institute. These bodies were intended to regulate and sustainably manage Nigeria's surface water and groundwater resources. The rejection of the bill by the Senate concludes the controversy surrounding it, which had sparked opposition from governors and federal lawmakers, particularly those from the southern part of the country. During the Senate session, Senator Gabriel Soswan from Benue Northwest raised Order 85 of the Senate rules, stating that senators must have full details of the provisions of any bill before granting concurrence. Senator James Manager from Delta South supported Soswan's motion, emphasizing the need for comprehensive information beyond just the title of the bill. Senate President Ahmad Lawan ruled in favor of the cited rule, and as a result, the Senate withheld concurrence to the bill, siding with those who opposed it. It is worth noting that the House of Representatives had passed the bill in 2020 despite concerns raised by members of the public. Prior to its passage, consultations were held with the then Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the and dismisses al-Rufai's Islamization claims as political maneuver. In a recent development, Reverend Joseph Hayab, the chairman of the Kaduna State Christian Association of Nigeria, has called on Nigerians to disregard the Islamization claims made by the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir al-Rufai. Hayab characterized al-Rufai's statements as a ploy to gain relevance and further his alleged presidential ambitions rather than genuine concerns. The reaction from the chairman came after a video surfaced on social media where Rufai purportedly asserted that a Muslim ticket would dominate the governorship elections in Kaduna State for the next 2 decades. He also claimed that a similar Muslim domination was taking place at the national level. During an interview on Arise TV's morning show, Hayab urged the public not to be swayed by al-Rufai's comments, stating that he was merely playing divisive games to incite conflict between Christians and Muslims as well as against the current government. Hayab emphasized that al-Rufai's attempts at manipulation demonstrated his unsuitability for leadership and highlighted the issue of granting power to individuals without adequately assessing their mental stability. When asked for an official response to al-Rufai's statements, Hayab recommended disregarding him, referring to him as a madman seeking attention and pursuing an agenda. He pointed out that al-Rufai's previous administration did not achieve the success he claimed, as evidenced by the continued killings, division, and problems in Kaduna State. Hayab viewed al-Rufai's actions as a desperate attempt to maintain relevance, knowing that some people might mistakenly perceive his actions as defending faith. Hayab drew a comparison to President Buhari, emphasizing that Buhari's previous attempts at playing similar games had not worked for him. He highlighted the qualities Buhari possessed, such as honesty, restraint in speech, and perceived approachability, which al-Rufai lacked. Hayab expressed confidence that the majority of Muslims in Kaduna State would not align themselves with al-Rufai's views as they were aware of his true motives. Furthermore, Hayab cautioned that al-Rufai was setting a trap for President Bola Tinubu by creating heated tensions that would lead people to seek Tinubu's stance on the matter. However, Hayab reassured the public that there was a clear distinction between al-Rufai and Tinubu, as well as other political figures. In conclusion, the Kaduna chairman dismissed al-Rufai's claims of Islamization as a political maneuver and called for the public to refrain from taking him Badibo Road's Viva condensed divisive laws, cautions Obasa on property rights. Badibo Rhodes Vivac, the governorship candidate of the Labour Party for the 2023 Lagos state election, has expressed strong disapproval of the recent comments made by Right Hon. Midasero Obasa, Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly. Rhodes Vivac cautioned against the implementation of laws that would divide the residents of Lagos along ethnic lines, particularly in relation to property rights. In a statement posted on his official Twitter handle, Rhodes Viva emphasized that any legislation enacted to favor indigenous Lagosians at the expense of other residents would be divisive and detrimental to the economic interests of the state. He called on well-meaning Lagosians to reject such a bill. The comments from Rhodes Viva came in response to Obaso's acceptance speech after being re-elected as the Speaker of the Lagos House of Assembly. Obasa had stated that lawmakers would take any necessary measures to protect the rights of indigenes, even if it required reversing existing laws. Rhodes Viva criticized this approach as an attempt to undermine the fundamental rights of residents as guaranteed by the Nigerian Constitution. He highlighted that such a regressive bill would not only undermine the principle of private ownership, but also discourage local and international investors from participating in Lagos' economy. The potential enactment of such legislation, according to Rhodes Vivac, sends a damaging message and erodes confidence in the state's economy. Instead of promoting divisive laws, Rhodes Viva advocated for the implementation of state laws focused on preserving heritage, historical sites, and traditional institutions from political interference or vandalism. He further urged the state government to fulfill its duty of ensuring the welfare of all citizens, regardless of their state of origin. In conclusion, Rhodes Viva's statement emphasized President Tinubu signs bill for uniform retirement age of judicial officers. President Bola Tinubu has signed a constitutional amendment bill that brings uniformity to the retirement age and pension rights of judicial officers. The bill, titled Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999-2023, was presented by the outgoing Ninth National Assembly and has now been enacted into law. The signing of this amendment bill marks a significant milestone in achieving uniformity in the retirement age and pension rights of judicial officers. Previously, the retirement age for High Court judges was 65 years, while it stood at 70 years for justices of the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. However, with the new law in effect, the retirement age for High Court judges has been extended from 65 to 70 years. In a statement released by the State House Director of Information, Abio Donola Donjoyi, President Tinubu expressed his administration's commitment to strengthening the judiciary, upholding the rule of law, and empowering judicial officers to carry out their responsibilities effectively. The President's dedication to the judiciary's welfare and the seamless functioning of the legal system is evident in his support for this constitutional amendment. The uniform retirement age and pension rights for judicial officers will not only promote consistency but also enhance stability within the judiciary. This amendment ensures that judges can continue to contribute their valuable experience and expertise to the justice system until the age of 70, aligning their retirement age with that of their counterparts in higher appellate courts. President Tinubu's signing of the bill demonstrates his administration's recognition of the judiciary's pivotal role in the Nigerian democratic system. By enacting this amendment, the President aims to uphold the independence of the judiciary, improve access to justice, and foster a robust legal framework that supports the fair and efficient administration of justice. With this important development, the retirement age for High Court Governor earlier reveals depleted state resources and looting of government house by autumn administration. Governor Rev. Father Hyacinth Elia of Benue State has expressed his dismay over the alleged massive looting of government assets by the immediate past administration led by Chief Samuel Autumn. In a statement released by his chief press secretary, Mr. Tasu Kula, Governor earlier revealed that he inherited an empty treasury and was left without a single official car. The governor highlighted the dire financial situation he faced upon assuming office, including a staggering debt profile of $187.56 billion and months of unpaid salaries and entitlements for civil servants and pensioners in the state. According to Governor Elia, visits to various agencies and parastatals have uncovered unprecedented levels of decay and mismanagement, representing a new low in the history of Benue State. The governor criticized the People's Democratic Party for its calls to reverse his decision to nullify last-minute appointments made by his predecessor, stating that it was the same party that left the treasury empty and compromised the state's economy. The PDP looted the government house to such an extent that the new government, under Governor Hyacinth Elia, found no single car or truck in the government house. The governor's investigations have unveiled a level of corruption never witnessed before in Benue State. The statement read, Governor Elia emphasized that Autumn's administration left the government burdened with salary arrears for civil servants. He called on the PDP to apologize to the people of Benue State for their mismanagement and financial irresponsibility. The PDP is well aware that all the appointments and recruitments made by former Governor Samuel Autumn during the final months of his administration were not done in good faith. It is suspicious that for over 7 years, Autumn did not employ indigenous individuals into the civil service until a few months before his tenure ended, the governor remarked. The statement further highlighted the ironic situation where the PDP, currently voicing concerns, had left the government house with salary arrears for Benue civil servants from December 2022 to May 2023. Additionally, the previous PDP administration had left 5 months of salary arrears for state government workers in 2017 and 10 months for local government workers in the same year. Pensions were last paid in 2021 under the same PDP government. Enugu governor meets with Tinubu, advocates for Nnamdi Kanu's release. Governor Peter Mbah of Enugu State has engaged in discussions with President Bola Tinubu regarding the release of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of indigenous people of Biafra. Governor Mbah, after a private meeting with Tinubu at the Aso Rock Villa in Abuja on Thursday, expressed his belief that Kanu's release would align with the president's agenda for national healing as promised on May 29th. It has been exactly 2 years since Kanu's arrest on Kenyan soil and subsequent extradition to Nigeria, where he faced a 7-count terrorism charge. In November 2021, the IPOB leader was rearraigned on an amended 15-count charge. Governor Mbah's discussion with Tinubu centered on the possibility of securing Kanu's release, particularly in light of recent favorable court rulings regarding his prosecution. The governor emphasized that releasing Kanu would signify Tinubu's gesture of goodwill towards the Southeast, the region from which the IPOB leader hails. Governor Mbah expressed optimism that the president would consider their request favorably. We also, of course, talked about the release of Nnamdi Kanu. The Southeast has collectively demanded his release. We identified with this demand and appealed to Mr. President, who, in his inaugural address, pledged to promote national healing and serve with compassion, Mbah stated. Governor Mbah further revealed that he sought the federal government's assistance in harnessing the untapped mineral resources in Enugu State for the benefit of its people. With the government's support, he believes that numerous dormant assets in Enugu could be transformed into productive resources. We have set ambitious goals for the next 4 years to grow our economy to $30 billion. Collaboration and partnership are at the core of our governance philosophy, and we see the federal government as a key partner. Enugu possesses significant mineral resources that are currently underutilized. Through our partnership with the federal government, we aim to unlock the potential of these resources, Mbah explained. Regarding security and private sector investments in the Southeast, the governor emphasized the importance of creating an environment conducive to business growth. He highlighted the decision to ban sit-at-home protests on Mondays in Enugu and emphasized the need to enhance security measures to address related challenges. We recognize that private sector-led growth requires a conducive business environment, which includes security and infrastructure. We discussed these matters with the President and we have made a firm commitment. The purpose of my visit was to convey warm greetings and best wishes from the government and people of Enugu State, Governor Emba concluded.